So good afternoon, everybody. The next session will be mostly around lifetime value prediction and the way to do it through game simulations. A few words about myself. Today I'm co-founder and CEO of Simple. Simple is a smart platform to predict and optimize lifetime value through numerous game economy simulations. I'm dealing with data for actually longer than I want to admit, a very long time back. Stepped into the games industry somewhere in 2010. And after a few years working with many companies and understanding the root of the problem that most companies result of, which are a result of data issues, monetization, and economy, this is when we came up with the approach I'm going to present now. And I want to start. And I want to start the session with this absolutely magic moment. Okay, this is what we all, as game developer, this is the moment we try to strive to achieve, this passionate engagement. But you probably know that this excitement was not achieved only because of the shiny colors, you know, and the candies. There's also a very sophisticated and smart game economy behind the scene. Almost nothing that happened to this player is random, and there is a lot of engineering behind the scene. Most game companies, the successful ones, have a well-thought-out game economy strategy. And this is probably one of the biggest challenges to achieve. When we talk about game economy, we're talking about a battle for balance. Okay? It's a balance between earning and spending, between winning and losing, between free-to-play time and pay-to-play time, and mostly between satisfaction and frustration. For the players, the end result of achieving this balance is the feeling that playing your game is worth the investment of time and money, and that they're receiving gradually increasing value for money as long as they are stick to the game. But we're facing this battle almost every day. Every time we want to add or change a feature to the game, every time we're planning the next promotion, and we have to understand what's going to be the effect. And every time when there is a real-time incident in the game and something is going unbalanced, we have to take a decision. But as you probably know, there's always so many options on the table, and the success of the game rely heavily on our ability to take the best decision as quickly and efficiently as possible. Unfortunately, for most games, as you know, that most games are not succeeding, this is one of the biggest bottleneck. And the reason is that every time you want to change or test something in the game, let's say you want to release a new feature to test retention on 7-day or 30 days retention or lifetime value for 30 days, you have to wait this time. And not only that, we need a significant number. So we need to spend big media budget to get users through the system to play and experience whatever we want to do. And that costs money and an endless experimentation of the game, and then that is heavily expensive. And not only that, after we spend so much money and work in this game, there's still so much guesstimating in the system that should be managed not as an art, but more as a science, right? So for those of you who are not familiar in the way that the game economy is structured, game economy mostly is kind of a rigid linear tool. If you know it, it's kind of a huge Excel sheet or a CSV with thousands of different parameters, but mostly they work best when there is only one type of users in the game. But you probably know, as I do, that we are, as people, we are different, and we play the game differently. We have payers and non-payers. We have our whales, our sharks, our dolphins. We have users who are like to be social and and brag with their achievements in the game. And we have the ones who to be anonymous. At the end, we all consume the economy differently. And this is one of the biggest challenges to optimize and balance the economy. So before I'm going to jump to talk about lifetime value, I'm going to take one step back and to describe the analytical flow and when we're approaching to lifetime value. So the way I used to work with all the time with my companies is with these basic questions. The first one is, Do we have a problem in the game? Every day I'm coming to work in the morning, I'm looking on my daily KPIs, which I'll show you an example in a minute, and I'm asking myself, is everything okay with the game? The second one will be, where is the problem? And the last one, which is the most sophisticated one, is what is the problem? For me, always, the first two questions should be 4 clicks away from every stakeholder in the company. The last one is the more interesting. So when I'm talking about my first question, do we have a problem? I guess just raise your hand. You probably all know these metrics. Anyone who is not familiar with any of those metrics? Install, second day, 7-day retention, first-time deposit users, total conversion, RPPU, DARPU, and revenues. So basically, when looking at this, I can easily understand if everything is okay in my game. My next question is, where is the problem? Is it something that origin for a specific platform? Is it Facebook? Is it iOS? Is it Android? Is it anything issue with some of the countries that I work with? Any segment? Any specific cohort in the game? Once I'm having this information, I'm ready to move on. And the next question is, what is the problem, if there is a problem at all? So is it technical? Is it something related to marketing? Is it monetization? Or, as I'm going to show you in a minute, is it something that results with the product or something in the economy? So once I'm having this observation, I'm ready to move forward, and now I would like to dive into lifetime value. Right. So lifetime value is a subset of predictive analytics. There are a lot of, it's a huge niche, very fascinating one, but this is the subset. We need lifetime value from day one, basically, because it helps us to take better decisions. It has a direct impact on our media budget. It has a direct impact on the size of the company that we want to manage. And basically, it can indicate us, our profitability looking to the future. But something very important to understand, lifetime value, it's the effect. It's not the cause. The cause is actually what we're doing inside the game. Okay? So when predicting lifetime value, there are many, many models, some of them more complex, some of them less complex. I'm going to I'm going to dive into one of them, but one very famous one is the probabilistic method, which is an RFM. It's take all your paying users, looking back, calculated the frequency, the recency, when they paid last time, how often they paid, and what's their lifetime value. This is creating some kind of heuristic. When do we expect to make them another purchase? What would be the size of this purchase? But again, this is heavily rely on historical data. What I'm going to talk today is about the regression and curve, and this is more matching to create a game simulation because it involves inside a lot of metrics inside the game. It involves virality, it involves engagement, monetization, and other aspects of the game that help us to understand perfectly. So I want to give you an example. We're using a very simple formula, lifetime value equals to APDs. APDs for me is the interface behind the retention curve. So I know if my game generates 30% secondary retention, as I go to the expectancy, if I'll calculate the surface below, in this example, I will have 15 actual playing days average for all of my users. Let's take, for an example, our ARPDAU of 20 cents. It will give me a simple calculation of expected lifetime value of $3. Now let's put two more parameters into the equation. Let's say my CPI is $5. My organic lift would be 20%. So it gives me only 60% return on investment. If I'm including the organic lift, I'm going to talk about effective CPI. It adds me 20% to my return on investment. Still, as we see, not good enough. All right? So I'm asking myself, what should we do now? This is where I'm going to start to talk about game simulation. As I spoke before, at this point, there are a lot of options we can take if we want to improve the game. Okay? If you remember the formula I just showed, there are different mechanics in my economy approach to improve retention, actually to improve the amount of actual playing days. And there are other factors that can improve my game if I want to, that affect my game, if I want to improve conversion, or I want to push users to make bigger purchases. There are a lot of approach. I need to decide quickly how I want to progress, and this is where game simulation stepped into the game. So again, I want to talk over the flow. I'm creating some segments. I'm creating simulation, which I'll describe you in a minute. I'm taking the insight. Specifically, we're using reinforcement learning to to take the insight, understand how the game should be tuned better, how the economy should be adjusted, how to make thousands of different correlations, and then do it over and over again. I used to do it, when I did it manually, a few dozen times. It's a nightmare. So while using the machine's capability, we can do it hundreds of times until we are satisfied with the result. So when we're talking about simulation, again, there are few dozen approaches. I'm going to present here a Monte Carlo simulation. Monte Carlo is basically approach related to probabilities and weight. Every time that a user can take an action inside a game, it can have an effect, and it can lead to the probability of the next action the users might do. In this specific simulation, we check the FETUI. Anyone know this term? First-time user experience. So we wanted to understand and predict how far our users were going to last and are going to get inside the game with a given setup we gave him initially. So we described 3 different scenarios. The first one, the blue line, was the less generous, but it was achieving the second best lifetime value prediction. As you can see here, scenario number 3, which was at the end, the one with the middle currency consumption. Currency consumption is a metric we use to understand how much coins or some kind of virtual currency the user are consuming, correlating to the amount he's spending on a given time. So at the end, we had the best result. We check 4 different metrics in here, and it was very, very easy to understand and see it quickly without the need to wait and understand what's going to be the effect. Okay? So I'm summarizing everything and the benefit of having this approach. So a few things. So first, as I mentioned, we don't need to wait. It's only a technical thing how fast and how efficient we're running this simulation. We're not leaving money on the table. We don't need to spend tons of money on user acquisition in order if you want to be significant. We reduce the risk factor to the game and while running all kind of A/B tests. I didn't mention that, but having an A/B test on game economy on a multiplayer game is one of the things that are most risky because you might cause to unfair advantage to some cohort of your game. So it's also something that's only possible to do on a virtual simulations. And at the end, we're reducing the guesstimating factor, and for me, this is one of the biggest advantages of achieving this game. More of all, getting this right will bring us to more moments like this. This excitement at the end, users who are engaged, who are passionate, users who care, at the end, these are users who will create better revenue for the game. And without all the amazing fun of creating game, we're trying to make this a real business, the games. And I believe that this is one of the biggest advantages to doing so. Few words about Simple. So we're only operating with few game developers. We ran a test a few months ago with a big games company in the Netherlands. We're able to achieve 23% to 250% second day to 28-day retention, which was quite amazing. And this is one of the things that we're releasing. We released actually 2 weeks ago our first model. If you find this interesting or to understand better about the technology that we're using, I'll be happy to hear your questions or talk to you afterwards. That's it.
Thank you very much.